My exhibition discusses the question, why do we seek knowledge? I found this question quite interesting and I spent a long time thinking about this, and I talked to a lot of other people about this too and got some other perspectives. But for me and for most other people, the first thing that comes to mind is people seek knowledge for financial gain or for money, and the other reason would be for recognition or for notoriety or fame. And now these two reasons don't necessarily have to be for huge fame or huge amounts of money, but sometimes we seek the knowledge on how to do something so that we can get a job in that field. For example, we seek knowledge about how to become a teacher by going to university and studying education in order to get a job in the field of education so that we can make some money for our life. But instead of discussing these two obvious ideas, I come up with some other ideas on why we seek knowledge. And I will introduce three objects in my exhibition, and each object discusses a different way that we seek knowledge. The first idea that I want to introduce and the way that we seek knowledge is for purely altruistic reasons, for helping others. What you see here is unfortunately a very blurry screenshot of the dashboard to my blog. And the dashboard to my blog uses the software WordPress in order to run it. Now, what's interesting about WordPress as a software platform is that it runs over 40% of the internet runs on this same platform. And this platform is actually open source. So that it means anybody can use it, anybody can access it, and nobody makes any money off it, or none of the original developers make money off it. People can make money off it by selling themes or by selling server space. But what I find really interesting about why we seek knowledge is the people that seek knowledge in order to help others or to better society or to be of benefit to mankind. And this is just one example. So altruism and altruistic reasons for seeking knowledge I think are quite interesting, especially when you compare and contrast them to seeking knowledge for money and fame. This is my second object in my exhibition, and it's a photo of my son playing with a dog. This is one of the first times he ever got to play with a dog, and I find it really fascinating the way that he interacts with the world. He's not interacting with the world in any way to become famous or in any way to make any money. They're the last things that he's thinking about. But this what I see, the way that he interacts with the world and the way that he seeks knowledge, is he's seeking knowledge purely out of curiosity. He's really curious about the world, and he seeks to understand the world by, you can see here, touching it. He's reaching out to the dog, observing it, practicing. I see this the way that he's learning to talk as well. He's practicing different letter combinations and sound combinations and seeing what they sound like together and different ways to manipulate his mouth. So one other interesting reason that we seek knowledge is out of pure curiosity. The third and final object in my exhibition is a reference book called The Bush Tucker Field Guide by Les Hiddens. Bush tucker is food that you can find in the nature and in wild in Australia. As you can see from the photos on the front of this book is a reference source for when you are out in the outback of Australia and you need to find food. This book is a way for you to identify and find traditional food and medicine in the outback. Les Hiddens is a famous Australian who used to have a TV series called The Bush Tucker Man, and he's published a few books as reference books for people that like to explore the outback. And Les Hiddens is a really interesting man because he found out all of the knowledge that he has, or most of the knowledge that he has, about the bush and about bush tucker and about bush food through talking with Indigenous Australians and learning from them. So that's the way that he sought knowledge. But the reason that these Indigenous communities originally sought this knowledge was for purely survival reasons. They had to know what foods they could eat and could not eat, what foods would make them healthy and what foods would make them sick. So I think it's really interesting to think about seeking knowledge for survival purposes, which isn't something that we think about a lot nowadays, but it is definitely a reason to seek knowledge, so to make sure that we are safe and living happy and healthy lives. So these three objects were ways for me to discuss the prompt, why do we seek knowledge? And I hope that you enjoyed my exhibition.